Good day, everyone. I'm Andrea Leiby, your host for today's Predictive Analytics World webinar, Overcoming Big Data Challenges, How to Gain Real Insights from Unstructured Data. On behalf of Blue Ocean Market Intelligence, thank you for your interest in this topic, and we hope you find your time spent with us worthwhile. Blue Ocean is a next-generation services organization with a deep focus on data analytics, social intelligence, and market intelligence, all uniquely delivered under one roof by 650-plus professionals. Our unique 360 discovery approach ensures the broad utilization of all available structured and unstructured data sources, enabling us to bring the best to bear against every project we undertake. By combining the talent, speed, and cost benefit of a flat world, along with our scalable delivery model, we're able to achieve this more nuanced and comprehensive understanding of the market at the delivery speed and price advantage that today's business climate demands. Your presenter today is Georgoj Patronovich, Senior Vice President of Analytics. Georgoj has over 15 years of experience in various areas of business services. Before joining Blue Ocean, he was the European sales leader for analytics services at IBM. Georgoj's broad experience includes IT, KPO and analytics, BPO, and back-office services for various global brands and regional leaders. He was instrumental in growing Capital One's outsourcing footprint in Asia and was directly responsible for managing the analytics practice in India for Red Pill. He has established and grown service operations across multiple cities and in various offshore locations like India and the Philippines, as well as manage a diverse set of business functions. Additionally, he has spent some time as a successful entrepreneur and participated in assorted merger and acquisition activities. Georgoj has an engineering degree from the Birla Institute of Technology and a Master's of Business Administration from the Indian Institute of Management. The floor is all yours, Georgoj. Take it away.
Thanks, Andrea. Hello, everyone. Before we start talking about how to overcome challenges with respect to big data and how to get insights from unstructured data, just want to throw out the common context around big data. What is big data? As probably a lot of you may be aware, big data actually is characterized by 3 V's. And the first V talks about volume, which means big data is voluminous. It's all about huge quantity of data. Second V stands for variety. Besides the quantity, it's also different kinds of data that we are referring to when we talk about big data. And the third and most important thing is velocity, which is the third V, which means data is getting accumulated on a real-time basis. It's happening as we speak. It's really happening fast. So that characterizes what big data is. Now, where does big data come from? It can come from anywhere. It can come from places like CCTV camera. It can come from emails. It can come from telephonic conversation. It can come from transaction data also, which is traditionally been structured data or traditional source of data. But think of transaction data in the telephone or mobile world, where all the records that get generated between consumers, which gets stored as a CDR data in any mobile company, that itself is big data, because the amount of data that is getting stored is huge, and it is changing, it is getting recorded all the time. So big data actually can come from any kind of source, which is probably not characterized by traditional source, which used to be typical transaction data or attitudinal data from survey or demographic data of consumers. Now, while there's a huge buzz around big data and a lot of people are focusing on technology and its application, a couple of critical parts that may get overlooked are, one of them being, how do you analyze big data and generate insight from that? And the second piece, is there a real application for big data in a particular business context? I like to keep these two thoughts parked for the moment, but we'll come back to these two thoughts subsequently in the presentation. Now, why is big data different, and what constitutes big data? So primarily, I would say historically, most of the data that used to get analyzed were structured in nature. In an organization or in an enterprise, you would find these structured data constitute only 10 to 20% of real enterprise data, whereas unstructured data or voluminous amount of data which remains untapped for analysis potentially can contribute up to 90% of overall enterprise data. Having said that, structured data can actually generate up to 40 to up to 50% of insights that is needed to drive business. Whereas if you use unstructured data, or which is part of the big data, that can enhance your insights by another 20 to 30%. So necessarily by using big data or unstructured data that an organization may have, you can potentially have insight which is as close as 80% of insight that can be generated from data. Obviously, the rest of it is something which will demand advancement of further technology, and therefore the ROI may not be as relevant as we may like them to be. Moving to the next slide. Why is traditional data analytics not sufficient? So primarily, we talked about it in terms of percentage in the previous slide, but let's talk about some of the examples where big data analytics or unstructured data analytics can be helpful. For example, text mining or sentiment analysis. So there are a lot of conversations that takes place either on voice channel or on written channel. The written channel can be email or chat or social media. Voice channel can be call centers. So there's a lot of context in those conversations. And beyond the context, I think a lot of these conversations never gets analyzed. And that's where transactional data analysis or traditional data analytics fall short, because it is not capable of analyzing such data, and second, it is so huge that it probably has a constraint with respect to the engine that should run behind to analyze such data. Similarly, for example, with the advent of GPS, you have additional source of data which talks about the location of individuals or location of entities. With the advent data, you can potentially do location-based marketing on these entities or these individuals. Social network analysis is another area where big data plays a huge role. Social network analytics is all about how you connect the dots between different individuals and different entities, be it in the telecom industry, be it in social media, be it in the financial services, and therefore there are other applications where social network analytics can play a role. So these are some of the illustrative examples where traditional data analytics is not capable of handling first such a huge volume of data, and second, the engine that needs to be run to analyze such data. But before an organization or enterprise moves into big data initiative, there are certain checkpoints that the enterprise need to be aware of before they start any big data initiative. And we have a proprietary framework which we call PROMPT, which is very much needed as kind of a checking point before an enterprise moves and tries to generate insight and tries to derive value from big data. And we'll describe the PROMPT framework in detail in subsequent slides. The P of PROMPT stands for problem identification. So before starting any initiative or big data engagement, one should be aware, what problem are we trying to solve? Is big data the right answer for solving that problem? In a lot of times you'll find that you can actually solve a part of the problem or complete problem with the help of normal transactional or structured data. That's why it's very important that you identify what problem you're trying to solve, and then whether big data is going to be the answer to that problem solving exercise. Second, it will also help you identify what data source or what data you need to solve that problem. Hence, problem identification becomes very critical. The second piece is around resources. Most of you know data scientists are really difficult to find in this world of big data. Hence, it is very much needed that enterprise is prepared and have a pool of data scientists either within the organization or through a partner organization. Without the data scientists, it is very difficult to successfully implement big data initiative. Moving on. Organization culture plays a very important role in big data initiative. While data is becoming huge and its usage is becoming that much more profound, data is getting shared not only within the organization, between departments, but potentially the insights from the data is having an impact to the external world. Hence, the organization should have the data security policies, the data privacy policies, as well as have the capability to capture the data appropriately within the organization across the departments, across geography. The next piece is around measurement of results. So while you embark on big data initiative, it is very much necessary that you always measure the results that you are getting from big data initiative. It's very useful because it gives a feedback loop, and thereby you can improve your initiative much more in the next cycle, or potentially it can help you in the next big data initiative that you plan to do. So measurement of results is very important because that will show whether you are able to generate the ROI that you had actually assumed at the time of problem identification stage. Moving on. The next piece is around pre-work. So as I mentioned, structured data can generate insights up to 50%. And hence the organization should already have some work in generating insights and deriving value from structured data. Big data actually complements the structured data, and hence the organization should be careful not to get into a big bang approach. Rather, it should focus on deriving as much value as possible from structured data and then using big data to complement that. Next is technology. Technology is changing very rapidly, and that too in the big data space. And it's because of technology that big data has become possible today. So the organization needs to adapt to new technology as it happens with respect to big data. At the same time, organizations or enterprise should also be careful not to depend on off-the-shelf solutions. At the end of the day, and for a successful big data initiative, it's very much the domain expertise, the technology, as well as the data scientist capability that is required to execute a big data initiative appropriately. So that's what we call as our prompt framework. In the next few slides, we'll talk about some tactical or execution level challenges that an organization may face during a big data initiative. Primarily, we categorize big data into two challenges. One is data challenges and the other is business challenges. Obviously, there's a lot of talk around data challenges, but business challenges are also important and needs to be highlighted. So as we talked about big data being voluminous, it's happening all the time, and it is of different kinds. Data acquisition, data storage, data archiving, data security, all of that becomes that much more difficult and that much more critical for any big data initiative to be executed properly. At the same time, business challenges will always be there with such initiative, which is in some sense game changer for a lot of enterprise. Coming to more details on the data challenges, we would classify them into three main categories. First and foremost is data extraction and cleansing. Normally data that we are talking about, be it from CCTV, be it from access log, be it from call logs, be it the CDR data. This data need not be ready for analysis in terms of format. Hence, the data needs to be extracted or formatted in the right form so that it can be assimilated and it can be analyzed. The second piece is data integration and aggregation. While we collect data from different sources, and some of the sources we talked about earlier, they need to come together in some logical form, because if I'm trying to do a very siloed approach with respect to a particular data source or a data type, it may not give you the optimal return on investment or the benefit. So as much as possible, while it is tough and difficult, one should try to integrate all of that in one single platform and in some kind of a logical linkages between data sources. Third piece is around data archiving. As you can understand, data is growing exponentially with time. It becomes very necessary that one has the right decision or guideline or policy around when to archive such data. And as far as archiving the data relevance is very important. So one form of data may be relevant only for a week's time. Another form of data may be relevant for a year or so. Hence, for every data source that we are collecting, there has to be some kind of a data archiving policy which will ensure that at any point of time we are only analyzing the relevant data and not making our task difficult by having non-relevant data in the picture. Moving to the business challenges. Clearly, the business needs to accept the initiative. They should be on board what one is trying to achieve from a big data initiative. Traditionally and as well as now, you'll find a lot of business leaders depend on their experience and depend on their gut feel in making decisions. Having said that, for any successful big data initiative, one needs to ensure that they are on board, they know what to expect from this initiative and not have a mismatch of expectations, and hence if there is a mismatch of expectation, it may lead to probably unsuccessful execution of a big data engagement or a project. Second is around performance. As analyzing big data is difficult and cumbersome, it should also take into account that the insight that we are generating out of the data is relevant and is timely. It really doesn't make sense if we are able to analyze and generate insight, and by that time the world has changed and that insight is no longer relevant. Hence, an appropriate decision has to be taken whether the insights can be generated on a timely fashion during the execution of such projects, and that will make it successful rather than coming to realize that insights that one has generated is no longer relevant in the current context. Finally, does big data mean big returns? A word of caution there. The benefits may not be immediate. The effects takes time, and having a feedback loop, which we talked about earlier, having a measurement criteria, always helps to enhance the initiative, always helps to enhance the ROI. So one should not expect the benefit to accrue immediately. One should have some patience, and over a period of time, through multiple iterations, one can expect a definite return on investment and definite value out of such initiative. Moving on, I'll take an example here, and this is a publicly available case study. This is with respect to a major auto company. And then we'll talk about how prompt framework applies to this auto company when they decided to embark on a big data initiative. First and foremost, the problem at hand, the problem that the auto company was facing with respect to one of their brands, which was a sports utility vehicle. They were not able to figure out whether to have a standard lift gate or a power lift gate. While their experience or gut feel said something, they still were not able to confirm it with data. They had done regular surveys, but analyzing those regular surveys from attitudinal data was still not able to address the question completely. So so they knew what was the problem. Second, with respect to resources, this auto manufacturer already had a large team of data scientists on board who were using traditional data and expanding their capabilities in the big data space. The third is organization culture. Company was collecting data at the lowest, at a granular level, both from the manufacturing standpoint as well as from customer standpoint. So in that sense, it had the culture of data capture, data sharing, data privacy laws, and things like that. With respect to pre-work, obviously, as I mentioned, they had the data scientists on board. They were applying analytics on the traditional data for almost last 20 years. So it actually gave them a platform to go beyond that and absorb big data initiative. The next one is around measurement of results. They were conducting a lot of customer surveys. They were also analyzing their manufacturing data. They were also analyzing their sales data, and they had the mechanism to measure the results. So that framework was already existing within the organization. And finally, from the technology standpoint, needless to say, they have been using all kinds of tools and technologies from multiple vendors, including open source technology, and hence they were able to move to new technology very smoothly with respect to big data technologies like Hadoop or NoSQL and so on and so forth. Finally, what they were not able to achieve through regular surveys, they were able to do that by analyzing social data here. Again, social data is unstructured in nature. It is happening all the time, be it Facebooks or Twitters or YouTubes of the world. So they were surprised to see that through the data that was available on social media, they could get clear answer as to what are the consumers looking for with respect to standard lift gate or power lift gate. In fact, they were able to achieve that through some amount of competition analysis on social media as well. So this is a simple case where this auto manufacturer was able to go beyond their internal data or survey data, and in answering one of the questions that they had, and the reason they were able to do that because they were ready for using data beyond the traditional data sets that was normally getting analyzed. So in summary, we talked about three major themes in this presentation. First and foremost is big data has the capability to play a significant role in generating insights and support decision making. Second, the organization needs to be careful, needs to be prepared, needs to know what groundwork they have to do before embarking on big data initiative. And finally, we talked about some of the tactical and execution challenges that an organization or a team may face with respect to execution of big data initiatives. So that was my presentation. I will now pass on the forum to Andrea. Over to you, Andrea.
Thank you, Durjoy. Everyone, that concludes our presentation today. We hope you found the information valuable. If you'd like to receive a copy of this webinar or hear more about Blue Ocean's analytics capabilities, please contact your Joy or his team at analytics@blueoceanmi.com or visit us online at blueoceanmi.com. Thank you again for listening and have a wonderful day.